Every summer without fail, four best friends, Mike, Jen, Ray, and Lisa, made it a tradition to go on a deep woods camping trip. They weren't into campgrounds with picnic tables and bathrooms. No, they liked isolation. The kind of remote where GPS goes dark, and the only sounds you hear are the ones nature wants you to hear. This year, they chose a section of the Oregon forest that hadn't seen hikers in weeks. 10 miles off the trail. They parked, hiked all day, and set up camp next to a small, quiet stream surrounded by towering fir trees. Not a soul in sight. Perfect. The first night was peaceful. They made a fire, roasted marshmallows, swapped stories. The usual stuff. But as the fire started to die down and they were ready to crash in their tents, something changed. Out of the trees, faint but distinct, came a whistle. 2 clear notes. Wee-hoo. They all froze. Did you hear that? Lisa asked, looking toward the dark wall of trees. Probably a bird, Mike said, though his voice didn't sound convinced. But it came again. Same tune. Wee-hoo. This time, closer. Jen laughed nervously. Someone messing with us? Couldn't be, Ray replied. No one else out here. We haven't seen a single footprint but ours. They scanned the woods with their flashlights, but all they saw were trees and shadows. Shrugging it off, they went to bed, trying to laugh it away as some forest noise. But none of them really slept. At around 2:13 a.m., Jen whispered, "Guys. Do you hear that?" They all listened. The whistle. Closer now. Right at the edge of the camp. Wee-hoo. Mike sat up in his sleeping bag. Okay, that's not a bird. He unzipped his tent and peeked outside. Nothing. Just the smoldering remains of their fire. No movement. No wind. Then it came again. Right behind his tent. Wee-hoo. He swung his flashlight wildly, but there was nothing there. Then came the voice. Soft. Imitating. Who's out there? Same tone, same inflection, but warped, like a recording played back wrong. Lisa screamed. They bolted out of their tents, back to back near the fire pit, holding out flashlights and a camping axe. The forest was dead silent. No birds. No insects. Nothing. And then, movement. Behind a tree. Something tall. Pale. Watching. The thing didn't move like an animal, it stood like a man, but taller. It had no light reflecting in its eyes, no sound to its steps. Just a silhouette in the dark. And then it ducked behind a tree again. They didn't sleep for the rest of the night. They sat with their backs against one another until dawn. Once the sun rose, the forest seemed normal again. Birdsong returned. The stream trickled. Everything looked right. But as they packed up, Jen froze. Guys, she said, pointing to the dirt around the tents. Bare footprints, human. But huge. And wrong. Long, narrow toes. Deep impressions. They weren't from boots or shoes. They circled the camp, again and again. At least a dozen loops. And they hadn't been there the day before. They left without breakfast, hiking as fast as they could. But the whole time, they had the sense of being watched. About 2 miles from the car, Jen turned around for one last glance at the forest. She heard it. Faint, far back in the trees. Wee-hoo. They never went back to that part of the forest. They even reported it to the ranger station. The ranger looked pale when they described the whistle. "You're not the first," he said. "But you're the first to come back." 2 months after the trip, Jen couldn't shake it. The whistle haunted her dreams. Sometimes she'd wake up in the middle of the night swearing she'd heard it again, just outside her window. Wee-hoo. Mike thought they should forget it. Ray refused to talk about it. Lisa moved to the city a week after they got back. But Jen, she needed answers. So she went back to the ranger station. This time alone. The same ranger was there, grizzled, worn, maybe in his 60s. He looked up from his paperwork and just said, "You heard it again." Jen nodded. "I need to know what that thing is." He sighed, leaned back, and looked around like he wasn't sure if he should say what came next. "They call it the Whistler. Been seen for generations. Always the same pattern, a pair of notes in the woods. Starts far, then close. Once it learns your voice, it mimics it. But it ain't just sound. It learns you." Jen swallowed. "What is it?" "No one knows. Some say it's a spirit. Others say it's flesh, something left over from when these woods were wilder. Mina. Maybe it was human once. Maybe not. But once it chooses you," he looked dead in her eyes. "It follows." She laughed nervously. "Follows how?" "It's 200 miles from here to my apartment. It don't care. Distance doesn't matter. Time doesn't matter. The more attention you give it, the more power it has. The more you remember, the closer it gets." Jen suddenly felt cold. The ranger reached under the desk, pulled out a file. "You're not the first who came looking. Most don't come twice. You ever hear of the Dalton family?" Jen shook her head. "Disappeared in the 90s. Whole campsite gone. Tents, gear, food, left like they'd vanished mid-meal. Only thing left behind was a cassette recorder. Guess what was on it?" Jen didn't want to know. He pressed play. Static. Then. "We who?" Then screaming. And underneath that, a voice. A warped, almost human voice. "Come out, come out." He clicked it off. Jen left that day shaking. She didn't sleep. That night, as she stared at the ceiling of her apartment, she heard something through her cracked window. Just a whisper. Her voice. Calling her name from the alley. And then. "We who?"